What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies sports history for September 15th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. The voice is a little today, but that's okay. We have a lot to get to, so let's jump right into it. First and foremost, 34-28. It was not pretty. We lost our bet, backdoor cover, but I just don't understand what's going on with the offensive play calling and Jalen Hurts. And I don't know if it's the play calling, Jalen Hurts, a combination of the two, but something still just does not seem right. I don't know why they weren't running the ball there and trying to force things, because you see what happens when they try to run the ball. And hopefully that's going to be the start of something that really starts to open up the passing game, as you saw in the second half. But I think this is still a product of them not having the reps in the preseason. Now you have 10 days to get it right before the next game. So hopefully they're in the lab and watching film and getting that right. It was good to see DeAndre Swift have a good game at home and score that touchdown. We were all rooting for him to get in the end zone there on that last drive. I'm glad they didn't do the quarterback sneak. As far as the Hurts and Brown little blow up on the sideline, I didn't even know anything about it until I was driving home and heard the questions in the press conference. And I wouldn't put much into that yet. I think those guys are both big competitors. They're best friends. I mean, if A.J. Brown's upset about not getting the ball and the way the offense was, the play calling, I don't blame him. We were all pissed off too. Like, it was just baffling, like just what they were thinking. And it was almost like they were fighting over who was calling the plays. It was like when Brian Johnson, and I don't even know if this is true or not, but it just seemed like one person was calling the plays, and then Nick Sirianni took the play sheet and ran the ball. They scored, and it was very inconsistent from a game planning standpoint. Maybe that is because he's a new coordinator. Maybe that's because they only had 4 days to get ready for this game. Again, I don't want to be concerned about it. Now, if they come out next week and it's like that, then it's time to start getting concerned. Defensively, I think they played well. I mean, Jefferson had got his, but a lot of that I feel was due to just being depleted on offense or defense and not having your guys out there. And I do think they got lucky that he fumbled that ball out of the end zone, because all of a sudden that's a whole different complexion to that game. But I will say overall, the defense, I wasn't too unhappy with what they did. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are both just studs, and I think somehow, I know he has a rotation of guys, but he needs to get them in there more, because they're both were disrupting and just out of their minds. So like, I like the future there. Hopefully now you got 10 days to get healthy. Jake Elliott is just a stud. I know it doesn't mean much. It's a different season, but last time he kicked a 61-yard field goal to turn the complexion of a game and turn the complexion of a season. We know what happened after that. I wanted to also make a comment. I saw a lot of people saying on Twitter about the sound was a little, seemed like it was off on Amazon, the crowd. And I don't know, because I didn't watch the, like, I'll rewatch it today and just kind of look at some things, but it was loud down there. It was a pretty rocking crowd. The light show they did at the beginning of the game, I don't know how much of that they showed on TV. It was actually really cool. With like, they synced up phones, and like it was almost like a Super Bowl level laser show, I thought. But hopefully they continue to do more of that, because that was fun. But overall, you take it 2-0. Like I said, ugly wins count just as much as the pretty ones. We did lose our bet on the backdoor cover, which was frustrating. I left after DeAndre's touchdown. I left thinking, all right, Eagles win. We're going to cover. And then I get out to the subway, and all of a sudden Minnesota scored. But you have those, and that's why the guys that set those lines are good at what they do. But again, moving on, 2-0. Get some rest, get back into the lab, and get this offense right. As of right now, I have no reason to not believe that they'll do that. So take the 10 days and get it right. All right, you know who's got it right? PhillyGoat.com. I told you about how much the Linc was rocking last night with the light show and just how loud the crowd was. Well, they have a new Linc shirt out. Go check that out. It was actually a pretty sweet little shirt with a picture of the Linc and a bird coming out of it. And speaking of the bird coming out of it, it was pretty cool when they do the eagle fly in. Just a quick little side note. But go to phillygoat.com. Check out that Linc shirt. They have the Kelly Green stuff. I saw a ton of different Eagles gear from Philly Goat at the game last night, so it's awesome that the word is spreading. So go buy your stuff, be part of the cool kids, and use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. But that new Linc shirt is pretty sweet. All right, Phillies are in St. Louis tonight. They actually gained a half game, so they're up 4 games in the playoffs, 1.5 over the Cubs. Time to start putting some distance. And one thing I will say, the Braves manager said the same thing that we kind of all have been saying too, that the Phillies are going to be a scary team come the playoffs, especially with the way the offense is. So they got a couple weeks now to start getting it right and get their momentum going for when they get close to or get into the postseason. I want to kind of figure out the pitching staff right now, but we shall see. But if you want more Phillies coverage, go to 2008 Phils. The link is in the description. It's the world's biggest email Phillies newsletter. For a limited time, they're giving This Day in Philly Sports History listeners 75% off a subscription, access to all of their archives, the 2008 World Series banner t-shirt. 2008 Phils will follow your Twitter. You get access to giveaways, tickets, things like that. All for $2 a month, $20 for the year. So be sure to check that out. Okay, today we're going to go back to 1997. And on this day, the Eagles played the Cowboys in Monday Night Football down in Dallas. It was the Cowboys beating the Eagles 21-20, but the Eagles were storming back. Both teams were kind of just that year. But Ty Detmer had hit a long bomb to Freddie Solomon, got inside the Dallas 10, set up the game-winning field goal, and Tommy Hutton fumbled the snap, and that basically just set the tone for that year. They would end up going 6-9-1, and the end of the Ray Rhodes era was near. They finished 6-9-1 that year, and then 3-13, which then led to Andy Reid and the Donovan McNabb era. But on this day, it was Tommy Hutton fumbling the snap, and the Eagles lost to the stinking Cowboys 21-20, Monday Night Football down in Dallas. I specifically remember where I was at that game, talking trash to Dallas fans, thinking this game's over, and then within 10 seconds, it was all over. But you'll have this. And Eagles-Cowboys have a good rivalry, but be sure to check out my buddies over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. They dropped their episode for this week yesterday. And it's interesting. Now that the games are starting again, the trash talk is flowing. It's very entertaining. So go check out the Clashing Conferences podcast anywhere you get your podcast, as well onto YouTube. All right, so this one, this did not expect this one at all. Number 25 on Who Wore It Best was hands down our closest one altogether. I really thought it was going to be close, but not this close. For the first time since we've been doing this in September, nobody received 50% of the vote. But it is Shady McCoy taking the title of Who Wore It Best for number 25 with 47% of the vote. Tommy McDonald, 33%, and then Keith Primo and Jim Tomei, both with 10%. And I like this because this was hands down the most votes we got. So that means people were into number 25. But it is LaShawn McCoy walking away as Who Wore It Best for number 25. Today, we are going with number 2. And this one was another one of those interesting ones, and I'll get into that in a minute. Currently, only one player is wearing number 2 in Philly, and that is Darius Slay. Good guy to have wearing it. Not quite enough time in Philly yet for him to make this list. Other notable number 22 or other notable 2s are Jalen Hurts actually wore number 2 his rookie year. Good old Rico Bronya for the Phillies, Gene Segura. And these 2 guys I was going to include on the vote, but I just didn't think they quite made that level. And you'll see why when I talk about the 2 guys. But David Akers, best kicker in Eagles history, was number 2. Best Eagles kicker in Eagles history for now. I totally see Jake Elliott taking over that title. He's just so clutch, and you need a big kick, long kick. He's there, kind of like Akers. It's nice to not have that as a worry as a part of your team, because God only knows the special teams are troubling enough for us, but that's a whole other issue. But Akers wore number 2, and then for the Phillies, Granny Hamner, who was a member of the Whiz Kids. He's in the Phillies Wall of Fame. Again, just not quite on the level of the next 2. So for today, who wore it best? We have 2 Hall of Famers, 2 guys with their numbers retired. For the Flyers, it's Mark Howe, legendary son of legendary hockey great Gordie Howe, but Mark had a very nice career of his own. And then we have for the Sixers, number 2, Moses Malone, the guy that put the Sixers over the top for finally winning that championship when he came in and did the faux. So now it's your turn. This is going to be a good one. I'm anxious to see where this vote goes. And again, Akers and Hamner, I just couldn't put them on the same level as Moses and Mark Howe. But you let me know who wore it best, number 2. Is it Mark Howe for the Flyers, Moses Malone for the Sixers? On this day, back in 1997, it was Tommy Hutton bobbling the snap on the game-winning field goal as the Eagles lose to the Cowboys 21-20 on Monday Night Football. Phillies in St. Louis, I would love to see a sweep here. That would be go a long way in kind of strengthening their hold on that wild card. The Eagles got a lot of work to do over the next 10 days. I'm confident they're going to get it done. Not cause for concern yet. And I will say, too, this is where we're at now as Eagles fans. We're a 2-0 team. They scored 34 points yesterday, and we're complaining and nervous about different things. So I think if you go back and put it a little bit in perspective, I think we're good. I also think, too, if a 34-21 without that late touchdown, that might feel a little different than a 6-point lead. But I don't know. I think we're in a good spot. But, I mean, there are some concerns. I mean, I don't want to say it's fool's gold we're 2-0, but it's not like we're 2-0. It's like, okay, thank God we're 2-0. Now you have time to fix it. So I trust the coaching staff's going to get it done. I do have to say one last thing on the game before we wrap up. It was nice to see the coach make adjustments in game instead of waiting until halftime, which was always the knock against Andy Reid. They made that adjustment and started running the ball, and it kind of got the offense clicking a little bit. So that was good to see. But it's going to be a beautiful day. Go enjoy your Friday, everyone. We're 2-0. We'll take it. Like I said, I mean, 2-0 is 2-0, and that now they have time to work on it. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History. Be sure to vote for your favorite number 2. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you. Go Birds.